Hey guys, this is Lami. For my cultural interview, I kind of did something like a little different in that I interviewed people that are Nigerian too, but Nigeria's a really diverse place. Like I'm from a different tribe than the people that I interviewed were from. So that's one. Also, I've lived in America basically all my life. I haven't been to Nigeria since I was 1 years old, and my parents lived in America basically all their lives too. So the way I process Nigerian and the way other people process Nigerian, I know they're fairly different. I was trying to get insight into how other people process it. Um, for this project as a whole, the way I attempted to go about it was I took my version or my definition of culture and I compared it to what other people thought. So I asked some questions about things that define culture to me. So I asked questions that had to do with family, your language, your religion, things like that. So at the end, I could see, are we really similar or is the differences really distinct? I interviewed two people. The first person that I interviewed was Justin Wilsu. He's a freshman here at the University of Maryland. He's 19 and he's Nigerian, but he is Igbo, and that's a completely different tribe from what I am. I'm Yoruba, so his customs are completely different from mine. Another person I interviewed was Amaniola Oladimeji. She's also a freshman here. She is Yoruba, but she's had more experience with the culture because her parents are very, very immersed in that culture. So it's basically like she lived in Nigeria. So yeah, those are the people that I interviewed. The first question that I asked them actually was, "Where are you from?" Now, I didn't really give specific parameters to this question because where you're from is honestly relative to you. So I wanted to see what their response would be. On Monday, I responded Nigeria, and Justin actually responded OKC, Oklahoma, because that's where he was born. Um, just these responses, in my opinion, really tell you about a person because Omanila was actually born here in America, but she still identifies Nigeria as her roots. And Justin, he was born here too, but Oklahoma is still his roots, like where he identifies with. So that just tells one thing about culture that um, people interpret it in different ways, and you don't have to be physically in a place to connect with it. I also asked them what comes to mind when you hear the word culture. Amanula, she responded, um, she thinks of background, history, just like cherishing your history, and she also mentioned the word appropriation. And Justin, he said he thought of diversity, the meshing of cultures, and just the ability to grasp from every single culture. I think it was interesting that their definitions were kind of different. Amanila took it as the very like textbook definition of culture, and she added appropriation, I think, because of the recent events. So that's something that was going through her mind. And Justin took it as a more like widespread view of culture, and he didn't just look at his own culture, but he interpreted it as cultures as a whole around him. But after I got those icebreaker questions out the way, I started asking them more specific questions. Like the next question I asked was, "Do you know your native language? And if so, how did you learn it?" So for Manila, who lives here and was born here, she does know Yoruba, which is her language, native language. She actually speaks it fluently, and I was surprised to hear this. And I asked her, "Oh, like how do you know how to speak Yoruba so fluently?" And she told me that her father basically forced them to learn it. That if they wanted anything in the house, if they wanted to go somewhere, if they wanted to communicate with him, they had to say in Yoruba or they wouldn't be getting it. So that's the way she learned it. And she also said that she had a natural interest in learning it herself. So that just progressed her language speaking abilities even more. Now, Justin, on the other hand, does not know his native language. His native language is Igbo, and he does not know it. So I asked him, "Why don't you know any Igbo? Like, why aren't you familiar with it?" He says that his parents didn't want to confuse him when he went to school, so they only taught him English basically. And I could see that he was kind of like, he didn't like the answer he was giving, and I was like, "Oh, so like you want to know how to speak Igbo?" And he was like, "Yeah, because language is a very important part of culture." This is literally what he said. He said, "Anyone can know about the culture, but if you know the language, then you'll have a different connection with the culture as a whole." So that's something that really resonated with me, that some people might not identify with certain cultures because they don't know the language, but in my opinion, language isn't really necessary. Yes, it can aid you, but if you feel a true connection with that culture, then you can do that. Some people go and learn Spanish wholeheartedly and fully, and they immerse themselves in the Latino culture. They can still be a part of it as long as they're appreciating it and not appropriating it. So I asked both of them how they define family, and they kind of had similar responses, but with a distinct difference. Amaniola said that family is just anybody who cares for one another. As long as you have a bond that surpasses friendship, then you're considered family. It's not just about your immediate nuclear family, but it can be anybody. Justin said the same thing, but he said that it has nothing to do with blood, meaning that your blood related sibling, your blood related mom or dad, doesn't have to be considered your family. In my household, religion is a big part of how we function as a whole, and I was curious to see if religion was part of their culture and their upbringing. For Manila, she actually said that she's not part of a religion. She found Christ and lost religion, and that she doesn't conform to regular religion standards. It's more about a relationship with her. So that was her take. And Justin is the same thing, except he doesn't have a religious household per se. He found his religion and his spirituality on his own. So that's something that differs from my family completely. My family is very everybody together is spiritual and religious. So it was just interesting seeing that individuals in their household, everybody doesn't always have to be the same. Everybody doesn't always have to be alike. There can be differences. So from this project as a whole, I've really learned that culture is relative. People interpret their culture in different types of ways, depending on the context of their situations, where they are, who brought them up, just the negative and positive people in their life as a whole can determine what they view culture as. There's no right or wrong version or right or wrong view of what culture can be. And it's important to just aim to understand different people's cultures, because ultimately, if you understand somebody's culture, you have insight into who they are. And on that note, thank you for listening to my cultural interview. I really gained a lot of information from interviewing these people, and I hope that I was able to relay some of this information to you all. Thank you.